Hey y'all, Kayla here from Wild Camo. What if I told you the secret to early season success isn't just about scouting, but about mastering one specific weather event? Today, we are doing a deep dive into leveraging that very first cold front to give you a serious edge this season. Let's get right into it. You know, every single one of us hunters gets a little giddy when we see a cold front pop up in the forecast. Come on, admit it. Your pulse starts racing a bit and you just know in your gut the deer are going to be moving. But is it really that simple? Is this thing we believe for generations a fact? Or is there maybe a little more to the story? And that's where things get real interesting, y'all. On one hand, you've got generations of hunters' wisdom, countless hours up in a stand that tell us cold fronts are pure magic. But on the other hand, you have all this modern scientific research using GPS collars that track deer 24/7, and it's giving us a completely different picture. So who's right, the old-timer or the scientist? So here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with the legend every hunter knows and loves. Then we're going to see what the hard science has to say. From there, we'll figure out how to bridge that gap, build a practical playbook you can actually use, and finally, we'll uncover the one force that truly governs a deer's life in the fall. All right, let's kick things off with section 1, the cold front legend. We're going to start with what every hunter feels deep in their bones, that almost mythical power of a big cold front. For decades, it's been treated as the holy grail for whitetail hunting, right? It's the one trigger we all watch the forecast for, just waiting for our moment. Man, this quote from Meat Eater just says it all, doesn't it? Toothy grins and racing pulses. A cold front. For us, it isn't just a weather event. It's an emotional one. It's that moment we feel like our odds have suddenly just skyrocketed. The logic behind the legend is just so beautifully simple. The temperature drops, especially by, say, 10 degrees or more, and that change in the air gets deer up and moving. They need to get up and feed to fuel up for that colder weather, which means they're on their feet, and it is the perfect time for us to be in the stand. Simple as that. And these observations, well, they're exactly why the legend is so strong. It's not just a feeling. We see real, actual changes in the woods. Bucks that were total ghosts all season suddenly show up with 30 minutes of shooting light left. They hit the food plots earlier. They linger a little longer after sunrise. This is when you cash in those vacation days, y'all. It is time to hunt your absolute best spots. And like they say, swing for the fences. Okay, now for section 2, we're going to switch gears and follow the science. Let's take a look at what the hard data from those high-tech GPS collars is telling researchers about deer movement. Now this is where the story takes a little bit of a turn, so fair warning, the results might surprise you. This technology is a total game changer. For the first time ever, wildlife biologists can see exactly how far a deer travels over a full 24-hour period, day after day, in all kinds of weather. It totally removes our own perception from the equation and just gives us the raw, unbiased data. And the results from these major university studies are, well, they're a bit of a head-scratcher for anybody who believes in the cold front legend. Penn State, Auburn, Mississippi State, they all crunched the numbers and came to pretty much the same conclusion. When they looked at the total distance deer traveled in a 24-hour period, before, during, and after cold front, they found little to no significant change. Kinda crazy, right? This quote from Duane Diefenbach, the head of that massive Penn State deer forest study, really sums up the scientific perspective. After looking at all the numbers from his GPS-collared deer, the data just didn't support the idea that deer move more overall during a cold front. Yeah, not exactly warm and fuzzy. So, okay, we have two completely different stories here. The hunter in the stand swears they see more deer, but the scientist in the lab says the data shows no real change. How in the world can both be true? In section 3, we're going to bridge that data gap and figure this whole thing out. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is a lifetime of observation in the field just wrong? Or is the hard data missing something? Well, the answer, it turns out, is that they can both be right. They're just measuring two completely different things. And here it is. This is where it all clicks into place. You see, the scientists are measuring the total distance a deer travels over a full 24 hours. But as hunters, let's be honest, we don't care what a buck does at 2 a.m. We only care about what happens during our window, during legal shooting light. And this is why the legend is not only persistent but true from our perspective. A cold front might not make a buck walk an extra mile overnight, but what it does is cause a shift in the timing of that movement. It might concentrate its normal activity into the daylight hours. See, for a scientist spreadsheet, that's a wash. But for us hunters, a buck that moves for 30 minutes in daylight instead of 30 minutes at midnight is a world-changing event. Okay, so now that we understand the what and the why, let's get to the good stuff, the how. And Section 4, we're going to build your cold front playbook, a real, concrete plan to capitalize on that critical shift in daylight movement. Here's a simple 3-step plan to make it happen. First up, you've got to hunt the food. That temperature drop signals a need for energy, so get on those unpressured food plots or those hot white oak flats. Next, you have to be ready for that wind shift. Cold fronts almost always bring a northerly wind, so make sure you have stands ready for that. And finally, now is the time to get aggressive. This is the time to sit in that high-risk, high-reward stand that's tucked in super close to a bedding area. Now, executing that plan, that's everything. You've got to have a flawless entry and exit strategy, especially when you're getting in tight to their bedroom. This is exactly why you save your best, most unpressured stands for these conditions. And hey, always be ready to adapt. If the wind isn't perfect for your A+ spot, having a mobile hang and hunt setup can be the difference between tagging out and staying home. We've focused a lot on cold fronts, and believe me, they are a massive opportunity. But for our final section, let's talk about the single biggest factor that governs a deer's life in the fall. There is one force out there that is absolutely 100% unstoppable. And that force is called photoperiod. It's kind of a big biological term, but all it means is how an animal reacts to the changing length of daylight. As the days get shorter in the fall, it flips a switch inside a whitetail's body that sets the entire breeding season, the rut, into motion. So here's the bottom line, y'all. Weather is just a short-term influencer. A cold front might change a deer's behavior for a day or two, but photoperiod, well, that's the law. It's the master clock that dictates when the rut happens, year after year, like absolute clockwork. This quote from the Mississippi State University Deer Lab just puts it perfectly. It doesn't matter how hot or cold it is, a doe comes into estrus based on her internal clock, which is set by the length of the day. The weather might make the deer more visible to us, but it does not start or stop the rut, period. So when we put it all together, a cold front is exactly what we thought it was, a golden opportunity. But it's not a magic bullet. It's a brief window where a buck's predictable patterns might just shift into daylight. It's your chance to be aggressive and hunt your best stand. The science and the hunter's wisdom actually agree on that. So the only real question left is, will you be ready when it hits? Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to download your free ebook in the description below. This video only scratched the surface and I dive much deeper in the ebook. It's also available as an audiobook if you want to listen on the go. If you learned something, please give this a like and let me know in the comments. And consider subscribing. I post new videos like this almost every day. Until next time, happy hunting.